Motion to refer House Resolution 711. Mr. Dingell of Michigan moves to refer the resolution, House Resolution 711, to the Committee on Oversight and Government Reform with instructions to 1. Hold a bipartisan public hearing with testimony from Kenneth Melson, the former acting director of the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, during Operation Fast and Furious. 2. Hold a bipartisan public hearing with testimony from William Hoover, the former acting deputy director of the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives during Operation Fast and Furious. 3. Hold a bipartisan public hearing with testimony from the former Attorney General Michael McCasey, who, according to documents produced to the committee, was informed during his tenure that, although efforts to coordinate firearm interdictions with Mexican law enforcement officials in 2007 have not been successful, the ATF would like to expand such efforts. 4. Conduct a bipartisan transcribed interview of Alice Fisher, who served as the Assistant Attorney General for the Criminal Division of the Department of Justice from 2005 to 2008, about her role in authorizing wiretaps and Operation Wide Receiver. 5. Conduct a bipartisan transcribed interview of Kenneth Blanco, who serves as Deputy Assistant Attorney General at the Department of Justice and also authorized wiretaps in Operation Fast and Furious. 6. Take such further actions as the committee, with full bipartisan consultation, deems appropriate to assure a thorough and vigorous investigation of this matter.
Pursuant to House Resolution 708, the gentleman from Michigan, Mr. Dingell, and the gentleman opposed will each control 5 minutes. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Michigan.
I yield myself 4 minutes, ask unanimous consent for advisory to extend my remarks.
The gentleman is recognized without objection, so ordered.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to offer this motion to refer so that this investigation can focus on the real issues at hand and to get the facts. I begin by expressing my respect and affection for the chairman of the committee, Mr. Issa, and I want to see a proper investigation, the facts gotten about serious misbehavior and utter incompetence at the at the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives, called ATF. This is a tragedy. I have had the entirety of the motion read so that we could understand what a real investigation is. I didn't roll off the cabbage wagon yesterday, Mr. Speaker. I chaired committees for over 20 or 30 years, and I have conducted more investigations than any man in this particular body. It is clear that the events here were characterized by dishonest, evasive, and deceitful activities on the part of ATF personnel. I want to find out what has happened. This is not the first time I've crossed swords with ATF, and this is not the first time I have found them engaged in shameful, illegal, and improper behavior. In one instance, I caught them raiding the home of an individual. They shot him in the brains, and they pitched his wife in her underpants out into the hall. Operation Fast and Furious was a highly irresponsible operation that never should have occurred. People on both sides of this aisle agree to that. The American people want the answers, and they deserve to have a proper, thorough, and bipartisan investigation that gets them the truth. My constituent, Brian Terry, wants the truth from the grave, and his family asks that we get the truth. And with God as my judge, they deserve it, and they shall have it if I can get it for them. I've shared scores of investigations and hearings over 50 years on wrongdoing which have collected hundreds of millions of dollars wrongfully taken from our people, and which have caught more than a few serious wrongdoers who have paid proper penalties for their wrongdoing. These investigations were always bipartisan, with both sides of the aisle actively participating and fully informed. The actions of the committee were unanimously conducted and were supported by members on both sides of the aisle. What we see before us does not follow that model, and it brings no respect to this body. As someone who holds the institution here in the highest regard, I find this to be most troubling. Instead of going after the real answers and getting the facts, about what has happened at ATF, the majority of the committee has engaged in what appears to be a partisan political witch hunt with the Attorney General as its target. Over the 16-month investigation, Democrats were not permitted to call a single witness to testify. So much for bipartisanship. The American people deserve better than this, Mr. Speaker. They deserve a legitimate inquiry based on facts in which all members of this body can support. Now, this is not a Second Amendment question. I have defended the Second Amendment more than any member of this body. And I am a past member of the board of directors of NRA and a life member of that body. We deserve, and the American people deserve, a legitimate inquiry based on the facts. It seems to me there's a simple way to resolve this dispute. First, adopt the resolution. Second, see to it that the Attorney General produces the documents that are currently at issue. And I will actively support the gentleman in seeing to it that those facts and those documents are presented. Second, the House Republicans should give a good faith commitment to work towards resolving the contempt fight. If the documents in fact are consistent with the Attorney General testimony, that he never authorized approved or knew about gun walking, then I think we should consider the matter of contempt resolved. If those documents...
Time of the gentleman has expired.
I reserve the balance of my time.
Gentleman reserves his time. The gentleman from California.
Thank you, Speaker. I yield myself 1 minute.
Gentleman's